Well, good night to you. And I'm happy that you're here joining us for another episode of Advancing the Cause. Now, last week we were here and we were talking about this issue that is trending right now. This whole issue of the rape allegations that have been leveled um, at the Minister of Local Government, Nigel Dharamlal. Now, before we get into a little more of that, I want to welcome all of you who are watching us, those who are watching us from right here in Georgetown, those who are watching us from across the Caribbean, those who are watching us from the county of Berbice, Essequibo, and that's in Guyana, those who are watching us from North America, those who are way out there in Switzerland and Turkey. Good night, good night, good night to you. We have seen so many things happening, but we're going to talk. We are going to talk. And so tell your friend, tell your family members, Advancing the Cause is on again. And we're going to be listening to you're going to be in for some more info. Well, we want to extend happy birthday greetings to all of those persons who would have celebrated birthdays from last week, Wednesday. To you, and we're also extending our condolences to those who have lost loved ones. And we pray that God is going to give you the strength to move on from here. May you find comfort, may you find comfort in the memories you have of those loved ones who have departed. You know, we always say that in life we expect to die, but when death comes, because it comes so sudden, it's hard for us to one accept, and two, the fact that we're losing someone, it's not an easy feat for us to deal with. But may God grant you the comfort you need so that we can move on. And so, as we move on, we want to say good night to Nigel Chesney and Anne and Pauline and a lot of folks there, Michael and Deborah and everybody. We want to say good night to Keith, Scott and Sabrina and Anthony Stone and everybody. We want to say good night to you. Our topic for tonight says then and now. And what we want to look at tonight is the fact that every time, and I keep saying this, every time the PPP come around, every time they're in office, we have all kinds of things happening. Every time the PPP are in office, every time the PPP are in office, you can look out for rape allegations. You can look out for allegations and acts of corruption in high offices. And so you have from ministers right down. Every time the PPP is around, you can look out for discrimination, people being discriminated against. Every time the PPP come around, you always see people being marginalized, people being oppressed. You always see, especially the targeting of black communities where the PPP want to go in there and dominate. And so this is what we're going to be focusing on this evening. And so a couple of years ago, we saw it's been 21 years or 19 years ago, we saw the destruction the PPP carried out in Buxton. And then when they weren't satisfied with that, they moved to Linden. And when they weren't satisfied with that, they moved right on to Mocha. And they are still not satisfied with that. They have now moved to Pleasance. And, I'm going to show you clips of what happened in Pleasance there last evening, where the PPP just gave the people notice that they would want them to be removed from the railway embankment. Let me make this clear. We are not against development, but there must be consultation. You can't just decide to move people just like that. Come on. These are persons who have been making an honest dollar. This is their livelihood. Quite a lot of the people
Hello.
who are operating there,
Go in,
that's
go
their
in,
livelihood. And for you to just
go
give
in,
them short notice and
go
ask
in, go
them to
in,
remove, how do you expect these people to eat? How do you expect them to take care of
go
their
in, man.
families? How do you expect them to pay their bills? Come on. And so yesterday we saw the vice president heading to Pleasant St. Paul Primary School to have a meeting with the residents. And you notice what you're seeing there? Residents were so upset that the residents decided to come out and protest the vice president and the ministers who went there with him, Charles Ramsden and Kwame McCoy. What we also saw there was the fact that there were selected persons. Persons were selected to go into that school to raise their concerns. Now, this is a village issue. This is an issue for the village. And they were saying to the residents that you cannot come here. We only have, you can come and you can come and you cannot come. Now, if this is the same government that talks about democracy, this is the same government that speaks to freedom of speech. This is the same government that speaks to transparency. And you notice what is happening there? Look at what is happening there. Now, if you know that the primary school could not have accommodated 500 persons, why did you go to the primary school? Why did you go to the primary school? And then persons were blocked from going in. When they got past the police officer there to enter into the building, they were also blocked and they were chosen. You can go and you cannot go, and you don't live here. I don't know how the police know who live in there and who don't live there when they themselves don't live there. And so what you're seeing here is the chaos and the confusion that transpired yesterday afternoon when the PPP, when the vice president decided that he was going there to speak with the residents. You see, they're trying to close the gates, and persons are just pouring in because persons wanted to have their views being heard. They wanted to have answers. They wanted to know, where am I going to go? How do I continue to operate my business? How am I going to feed my family? What do I give them after the end of this week or next week? What do I give to them? And so it is disgusting that the PPP just seek to point out Afro-Guyanese villages where they think that they can create chaos and they can continue to oppress people. And so this is what we are seeing happening last evening in the village of Pleasance on the east coast of Demerara. So you see how many persons are still standing outside? They could not get to go in there. And more so because some of them were holding placards. It seems as if protesting is no longer a right of the people of this country. So as long as you're holding a placard, then you're prevented from going in there. Now, we heard from the vice president yesterday. He tried to give the people a whole host of Nancy stories. He tried to tell them about development. And yes, the people are not against development. But where are you putting me? You can't just decide that you're going to move me. You must be saying to me, look, we're going to move you for a month or 2 months, and we're going to put you at X point. And after we would have been finished with the highway, then we're going to put maybe proper stalls there or proper booths there or whatever you're going to put there so that you can return to normalcy. That was not the case. So all of those persons who would have spent monies there, those market vendors who were there, all of those persons who had their stalls built there, nicely built, all of those have got to come crashing to the ground. And there is no serious talk yet about the kind of compensation that persons are going to be receiving. Now, this is terrible. This is terrible because we've seen in other areas when the PPP went there to do expansion in terms of building roads and cutting roads through there, persons were consulted long in advance. Persons were compensated. And we're saying that this is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. Operator, I don't know if we can hear what some of the persons are saying there.
Imagine this a public meeting and they're blocking off the gate talking about rioting. Who is blocking the gate? Who is blocking the gate?
I'm a businessman right down there. Yes, I am a resident. I am a resident.
So you see what is happening there. They're deciding who is a resident and who is not a resident. And persons are saying there that I'm a vendor. I live here. I want to understand what is happening because I have a stall there on the market. And you see what our police are doing. And this is where we have a difficulty because our Guyana police force has moved now to the Guyana political force. It is no longer the Guyana police force that seeks to serve and protect the citizens of this country, but it is the Guyana police force that is set out to carry through political instructions where they are being told to block people, to shoot persons, to disenfranchise people, to prevent people from going in there, to beat up people, to kill persons. That's what they're about. And this is so disgusting. We have seen over the years, and it is so disturbing that the members, some of the persons in the Guyana police force, sometimes they get upset when we call them rogue police officers, but their attitude gives us the right to call them rogue officers because they are not about the people. They are not there to protect and serve. They are there to carry out political instructions and to do what the political people say. And this is not right. Now, what you're seeing there are some of the stalls that we have on the Pleasance line top, as they would call it. These are some of the stalls that they have there. And so you have the persons there who are saying, look, we need to find out what is happening here. Tell us how we are going to live after now. You tell us what is supposed to be happening after now. And when people ask questions, then they have a difficulty with you. You see Charles Ramsden standing there, he don't care tree hang. And you notice he got a whole lot of loogies around him there. A whole lot of them who don't have to worry about where their meal is going to be coming from tomorrow because they get the handouts from Charles Ramsden. You see Greg Charles there. He is a known kashif who's Greg Charles. He has been deported from the U.S. And these are the persons that are attracts or are attracted to the PPP regime. A whole lot of convicted people. And you see all of them standing guard there around Charles Ramsden. Those are the kinds of people that he's got around him. And that is why we have all the confusion that we are having in this country, because there are a set of people who are no stranger to law or to law enforcement or persons who act contrary to the law. That's what they're there for. So they stand guard around Charles Ramsden, while next week we are going to have hundreds of people, hundreds of children who can't determine where their next meal is going to be coming from. And so this is the PPP. This is what the PPP are about. And I'm saying to you, our viewers, we have got to take a firm action, a firm grip against these people. We cannot continue to allow these people to rule this country when they don't care about us, when they don't care about our children, when they don't care about our women, when they don't care about our men. We cannot continue to allow these people, a few set of persons or a bunch of people, to be muddling themselves around, living happily off of handouts. The whole side of them you're seeing there, living happily off of handouts, while the masses are suffering, while the mass continue to suffer. And this is what we have in Guyana. This is what we have returned to, an apartheid stage. And so while I'm not going to dwell much more on that because we've got quite a lot of other things to talk about, I want to draw your attention again to the fact, the issue that we've been beating all the time, and that is the issue of the rape allegations that have been leveled against the young man you're going to see just now. We are not going to allow these issues. Yes, this is the young man, Nigel Darumlal. The allegations of rape and sodomy that has been leveled against him. Yes, up to now, this minister is still on the job. He is still on what they call administrative leave that he requested to go on. And so he's still on administrative leave. And while you're on administrative leave, you are still enjoying all the benefits that comes with being a minister. Now, you know, I recalled last week when we were talking about this whole issue of administrative leave, we were talking about former ministers within the PNC. But you know what? Like I said, this comes with the PPP. And I'm going to show you another photograph of another young man who was sent on leave too, pending rape allegations that were made against him. Now, again, this is what happens when the PPP is around. Operator, could you put up the other picture of the other guy who was alleged to, it is alleged that he had rape issues against him? No, not that one. You're going to have to take down one. We just wanted the picture of the Commissioner of Police, former Commissioner of Police, Henry Green. Henry Green was one such person who you had rape allegations being leveled against him. And this, you know, the PPP, they are so shameless that they see nothing wrong with what they do. Absolutely nothing wrong with what they do. And they don't care how it looks. So we had Henry Green there who has been accused. Allegations were made against him of raping. And then we had a former Minister of Home Affairs where there were serious allegations leveled against him too. He's also dead, you know. And yes, like persons are saying, you know, when you look at Darumlal, you see wickedness in his face. Well, if you look at the two that we have on the screen right now, you're seeing more than wickedness, because we remember under Henry Green, there were so many murders. Under Ronald Gajraj as Minister of Home Affairs, well, don't talk. That was where the death squad was birthed. The Phantom Squad, as a matter of fact, that was where it was birthed. And it was under Gajraj's leadership as Minister of Home Affairs that we had the jail breakout. You remember that jail breakout with Dale Moore and all of them? Yes, it was under Ronald Gajraj. And this was the same man who was living, I think it's about 3 or 5 houses from where these criminals were living, the 5 boys. And he did not know that these men were living right next to him. It was under Ronald Gajraj's leadership as Home Affairs Minister, when the PPP were in office, that we had the shooting to death of a young university student, Johann C. Douglas. It was under this same Ronald Gajraj that we had so many young men being murdered. And folks, I'm saying this to us so that we would remember these things, that the PPP are not an easy bunch of people to deal with. They are not an easy bunch of people to deal with. It was the same run under Ronald Gajraj that every morning you woke up, there was a death here and a murder there and an execution style murder there, and there was wailing and groaning. And so these are the things that have happened under the PPP. It was under the PPP that we had the Bacchus's brothers being murdered. It was under the PPP that Shaka Blair was murdered. And we cannot have answers to all of those murders yet. We cannot have answers until this day. And so you see here that the PPP has a trend. The PPP, they have a trend of not knowing what has happened, not being able to solve murders, not being able to solve serious crimes. But little petty things are the one that they run and hustle to decide that they're going to solve them. And these issues must be brought back to our memory then, now, and again. And that's why I titled this program like that this evening. These are a wicked bunch of people. And so some of those who are following them, all they're doing is stifling their consciences. That's all some of them are doing, stifling their consciences. We see the president walk around and one wonders whether the president doesn't have any form of decency within him. One wonders, because the president is here walking around the place, not saying anything definitive on this whole Dharamlal's issue. But he is going around declaring open schools that have been built, interfacing with young girls and boys. And here it is. We have a 16-year-old girl that has come forward with allegations of rape against your minister. And you're not saying anything, you're mum and that. But you're going out there interfacing with young girls and the young boys. These are the very things that happened then. They've happened now. And we're hearing many other rumors that there are other young ladies who are willing to come forward, who are planning to come forward. But you know what I found very disgusting is the fact that there's a Bishop Fisher, whatever he is, in that same cabinet, whose tongue, I guess his tongue was cut out. I guess his tongue is out of his mouth. So the bishop, up to now, not a word from the bishop. Not a word from the bishop. You have the prime minister there. Well, I don't expect really to hear anything from him because he done a long time. We've got there Minister Robeson Ben. Minister Robeson Ben, who is now the Minister of Home Affairs, and not a word from Minister Robeson Ben. Not a word from Minister Robeson Ben. And you know what is more sickening is the fact that coming on the heels of this rape allegation, it's about 34, 35 days or 37 days now, somewhere there, where we would have had the whole, that tragedy in Madhya, where 20 lives were lost. 20 innocent indigenous children lost their lives due to negligence. Negligence on the part of Nigel Dharamlal, negligence on the part of Pauline Sukai, negligence on the part of Priya Manik Chand, negligence on the part of every single one of them within the Regional Democratic Council there in Region 8. And you know what Pauline Sukai has decided to do? That woman is so very deceptive. Not a word coming from Pauline Sukai, but all had coming from Pauline Sukai was the fact that she went last week. She went to visit the people in Region 8. She went to some of those communities there, Mykobi and so on. She went down to those communities where the children are from. And you know what she went there to offer the people? She went there to offer them some bags of rice and some sugar and some flour and some packets of chow mein. And so this is the decency of these people, Pauline Sukai. Not a word uttered from this woman on the death of those children, nor the issue of the rape allegations. Not a word. But she finds herself in those communities to offer the families rice and sugar and flour and chow mein and some milk. And then got the gall to tell them, oh, we have not forgotten your issue. We've not forgotten that your children were burned. we have not, the government will do everything. But it has been so many days when nothing has happened. What I heard today, though, is that a commission is going to be, they've set up a commission, and uh, Joe Singh. Joe Singh is going to be heading that commission. Yes, Joe Singh is going to be heading that commission there, and we are hoping that we are going to get all of the facts coming out of that. I am hoping that we are going to have all the facts coming out of that. And yes, persons are saying that Minister Pauline is just like Dharamlal, wicked, stink, and dirty. That's what she is. I mean, this is a woman who would stand in Parliament to talk about, oh, the Amerindian people, and we care so much about the Amerindian people, and we care so much about the Amerindian people. But this very woman can't open her mouth to say anything in support of the Amerindian people. Not a word. And so the protest will continue, where we are calling for Irfan Ali, the president, to send Dharamlal home. But the story got a little bit more intensified, because we saw the protest moving from the office of the president, and of course it went to the law firm of attorney Nigel Hughes, and then we saw them moving to the DPP's office. Now, by right, if they said that the file was sent to the DPP's office, then you've got to go out there and let the DPP understand that we reckon we were informed that the file is at your end, and we're urging you to do what is right. But rather than the DPP being a professional person, the DPP decided that she is going to lash out and to talk about everything that happens. It's political, and the opposition is being political, and the opposition, and she's not going to be intimidated by the opposition. What kind of nonsense is that coming from persons who are supposed to be professional? And so we have these women out there who were voicing their displeasure and who were saying to the DPP how they feel. Operator, I don't know if we have sound coming there.
The DPP is not above the law. The DPP is not above the law. The DPP is not above the law. Dharamlal must go. Dharamlal must go. Dharamlal must go. Charge him. No. 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 Charge him.
The General Secretary of the People's National Congress, Honorable Dawn Hastings Williams. As an Amerindian woman, she is out there. I guess we can listen to what she's saying.
To see what is happening. We're fully monitoring what is happening. And most of the indigenous communities are being highlighted about this. And I'm encouraging them. You know, I have been encouraging them daily to speak up, even if they don't know English. They have the freedom of expression to speak up in their own language. Speaking Makushi, speaking Batamuna, speaking Carib, speaking Arikuna, whatever language you know, which is your mother tongue, they ought to speak up, because I think it is high time. I was saying that enough is enough. And if this matter is not handled in such a way that will bring justice to this child, then I don't know what Guyana is becoming. The constitution of this country has Guyana make commitment to ensure that the rights of the child is upheld, and especially those who are in a vulnerable situation. And we all know that the indigenous population is known as a vulnerable population in this country. And for decades, this has been happening. And I say that because of the reports that are now coming out. Since 2000 and to 2004, reports were made to authorities, and since then nothing has been done. And so to not allow justice to prevail, to not allow the process without being hindered and without being an impartial investigation being done, this will be a big blow and a slap in the face on the Convention on the Rights of the Children. We are a signatory to that convention. There is also what we call Indigenous Peoples' Rights. We have a whole ministry that is dedicated to look after the affairs and the welfare of the Amerindians or indigenous peoples of this country. No other race, no other thing has that special ministry. And to this date, I haven't heard, I haven't seen anything coming out from the Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, where she ought to say a statement. I don't know, being silent, I think in my opinion, and in the opinion of all the indigenous brothers and sisters, being silent is acceptance. It is normal that these things be done to our indigenous boys and girls. And you know, I would really want the indigenous population to come out, even if we have to walk from quarantine and march down, walk to Georgetown, we can do it. If we have to walk from Lethem or Karasabai and come down to show how serious we are, we can do it. We have done it in the past. If we could have crossed the Bering Strait and end up in the shores of Guyana, why can't we do that? Nothing is impossible for us to do. That is how passionate I am about representing these young girls. And if I get my people to do it, I know they will come on board and do it. So I am asking again, I am asking the government of this country, if they have any love and care for their indigenous people, whether they ought to come out and do the right thing. We have been calling for the minister who is in question to be sent home. He needs to be fired. We have no more confidence in him. There is no confidence in that minister any longer. And he, being the Minister of Regional, Local and Regional Development, he has to interface with our two shows. He has to interface with the councillors who are now sworn in these townships, these hinterland townships. So I am saying, I am pleading, and I need us to bring this to an end. Justice must be served and justice must prevail. I am also calling, I continue, and I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to go out to international organizations. I am not going to stay here until justice is served, but I am trying to follow protocols. I'm trying to follow procedures that we deal with it in our country first. And if we cannot find satisfaction here, then we're going to look out to our international brothers. We have organizations in Bolivia. We have organizations in Peru. We have organizations in Canada and all over this world that we can approach and we can come together to push this matter forward. So that is my position, and my position will remain the same until justice is served to my young indigenous sisters.
Yes, and so there is it. We had the General Secretary of the People's National Congress speaking out there on the issue and how much hurt they're feeling at this time. And she's also saying that it's not now, it has been for decades. And she's asking and she's pleading with her Amerindian folks to come out. If they can't speak English, then they can speak in their dialect and they can come out and show their support and bring an end to this kind of nonsense. Dharamlal must go. Dharamlal must be made to face the full penalty of the nonsense that he has done. And not only Dharamlal, but all the others whose names are being called. When you look at this man on the screen, come on, daddies, tell me what is going through your mind. When you look at the face of this man, mothers, tell me, can you sleep at nights? Can you be comfortable? Do you feel safe sending your children to the dorms, to live in dorms? When you've got this man who is responsible for every single region in this country, the operation of every single region in this country? Do you feel safe sending your girls to those dorms? Do you feel safe sending your girls or your boys to participate in pageants and debates where they have to be away from home. Can you feel safe when you still have this predator, this alleged predator around? I don't think you're going to feel safe. And so I want to urge you to come out and let's give our support, show support for our indigenous people. Like I said last week, if nothing else, we should honor these persons because of the contributions that they've made to this country. If for nothing else, we must be thankful that our Amerindian brothers and sisters, their forefathers, gave us the names of so many, many places that we use so frequently. We must be thankful for the craft that we can purchase from time to time to give us gifts. And so our indigenous people are important. Our indigenous children are more important because these are the children who will be our future, make up the core of our future leaders. We have seen all through the years several prominent Amerindian brothers and sisters who would have contributed to this country, given their service to this country. We've seen that over the years. And for us to want to treat this matter lightly, it's not going to go down well. And so here is it, we are seeing the DPP asking, resent the file, and she's asking that more information be given. I am hoping that this is not a delaying tactics that is going to be employed here by the DPP. We are hoping that the DPP will not join the bandwagon of some of the persons who have been on the bandwagon there to duck this matter. We are hoping that the DPP will do a professional job and ensure that Dharam Lal is charged. We have seen, so many atrocities, so many atrocities being meted out to our Amerindian brothers and sisters. We've not only seen that, but we have seen throughout history our boys, our Indian brothers and sisters being traumatized, being raped, being forced to endure all kinds of conditions. And that these things must stop. They must stop. And so here is it. We've seen folks from Berbice, that's region 6, region 5. We've seen folks from Linden. Sorry. We've seen some of our Amerindian brothers and sisters coming from region 7, Upper Maz, and so on. And they're all joining the protest action out there because they are saying to us that there must be an end to this. It must stop. People must stop believing that because Amerindians are quiet, they can take advantage of them. I want to say to us, folks, it cannot be business as usual. Sadly, we're not hearing from the religious communities. Some of the pastors who are always loud in praise for the PPP, you're not hearing them at this time. You're not hearing those persons at this time. And we are wondering why the silence. We have the First Lady who is sometimes upbeat with what is happening. I'm wondering what is wrong with her voice at this time. You have, I don't expect Minister Sonia Parag to say anything. I really don't expect her to say anything. Well, I spoke about Pauline Sukai earlier. I don't expect to hear anything from Sonia Parag. What has happened to Gail Teixeira? What has happened to her? She's always up and about and fizzing herself and, fuzzing herself all around the place. What has happened to her voice? Huh? What has happened to her voice? And, last week I said, I'm wondering whether they are all part and parcel of what happens with our children, or whether they themselves might have experienced the same thing, so they cannot speak out. This is just atrocious. In modern countries, issues like these, as soon as they get out, you would hear and you would see tables being reshuffled. You would see tables being pulled back. You'll see resignations start flowing. But in Guyana, under the PPP, it's okay. It's okay to rape our young girls. It's okay to sodomize our young girls. It's okay to intimidate our young girls. And so the silence that we are getting from all of those government ministers, it means that they are in agreement. It means that they are in agreement. And I don't care whether the first lady got a baby last week, week before the last, or whenever. Nothing ain't happened to her mouth. Nothing is wrong with her mouth. You know, I have a difficulty with the convenience of some people. I really do have a difficulty with it. And you know, this is what is saying to us that these people are toxic and they're no good for Guyana. Where is Onage Waldron? Where is she? Why not a sound from Onage Waldron? Huh? Why not a word coming from her? Why you're not hearing anything from Anand Prasad? Well, I guess he's scared to speak because, you know, he looking, I guess he, you know, he waiting to take over Dharamlal's position because they're all power drunk. All of them are power drunk. So you're not going to hear anything from them. You're not going to hear anything from him. And poor, what's his name? The boy who said he's the prime minister, Mark Phillips. Well, he is there just for the $2. He's there for the $2. Worst ever prime minister that Guyana would have seen. Worst ever. Worst ever prime minister. And so we're going to go to this clip here and we're going to listen to what Dr. Hines has got to say to us.
Of them, allegedly your own parents, really points to something miraculous in our country. And we should take strength from that young woman. That young woman, we don't know what her life will be after this ordeal, because she stands before the world and she has expressed the violation by a man in power, and others are backing him. And that woman needs all the love and protection from the rest of us. That child.
My final question, do you see this action and the slothfulness of government to react in such a heinous action done to an Amerindian child is a microcosm of how they see the indigenous people in this country?
Well, you don't want to get me started with that. One of the reasons that I am so jealous of the dignity of black people is because I feel that if myself and others can stand in between this government and the dignity of Africans, we will be doing a service to all ethnic groups in this country. I am well aware, you are well aware, all of us are well aware of the way in which Amerindians are treated in this country as Amerindians, and what Amerindian girls go through in this country as Amerindian girls. This government is racist, and because we in the African Guyanese community have been loud, we have not been hearing the cries of Amerindians. But Amerindians go through as much racial oppression as those of us on the coastland, and even more. And this incident, along with the fire, brings this out in graphic terms.
We have some more folks from the Amerindian community coming over.
Good. So we just saw Dr. Hines speaking there, and one, you know, he is always there championing the cause, and they've labeled him as a racist and everything. As long as you are not in line with them and their corrupt actions, then you're always being termed hooligan, racist, you're this, you're that, you're all kinds of names. But I just want to take time off to welcome one of my colleagues who will be joining us, the Honorable Nima Fluke Bess. And she's quite a hard worker, a teacher, a mother, a community worker, a MP, and everything. Nima, good night to you, love, and thank you for joining us at this time. We're talking here the
Good.
whole Dharamlal issue. We're reviewing then, now, and again. And so I highlighted the fact that what the PPP has done in Plaisance, or what they're attempting to do in Plaisance, is the same thing they did in Buxton a couple of years ago, 21 years ago, or 20 years ago. They did the same thing in Linden. Then they moved from Linden to Mocha, and now they're going to Plaisance. Just share your thoughts with us quickly on this whole issue of the PPP always seeking to attack African villages. Nima, are you hearing us? I don't know. Maybe we lost her there just now. We're going to try to get her again. But we're going to have Nima Flu Bess MP, who's going to share with us her take on what the PPP is always setting out to do. So Nima is here with us again. Nima, I was just recapping what happened in Black villages. And so I was saying we were going to recap a little on what happened in Mocha before we go on to the other issues. We lost her again.
Well, good evening to you and your viewers. I don't know, I'm hearing you in and out. I don't know if it's my end, but what the PPPC is doing does not show any regards for our human rights, does not show any regards for us as Guyanese, that they continue to go into our villages and destroy them. When you look at the actions of the PPPC government, I think of Adolf Hitler, you know, destroying people's homes, destroying people's livelihood, destroying people's culture, so that people can become dependent upon a government that doesn't see you as important. And that will even give them more scope to destroy our people. And tonight, I want to call on all Guyanese, our people, to stand up against this regime and what they're bringing. Stand up against them, because at the end of the day, they do not see us as important. And because they do not see us as important, that is why they continue to attack and destroy our communities, our culture, our people, make them uncomfortable, just as they did in Caneview, just as they did in Success, just as they're doing in Hillfoot, and they continue all the time. But I'm calling on Guyanese to stand up. If we stand together, we can topple them. We just have to stand together. So my indigenous brothers and sisters, I know that because they know that you're very docile or quiet people, that's your culture. I believe that is why Dharamlal was able to go into the communities and do whatever he feel that he could do. But we're thankful that we have one brave person, that young woman, that could have come out to tell her story. And I can tell you, Coretta, when I walk by constituency, you listen to my indigenous sisters and brothers, they're telling us that the Minister of Amerindian Affairs is a bully. And she knows what is happening because she encouraged these people to go into those communities to take advantage of those people. And that is why she can't come out and say anything about what is happening. But again, we want our indigenous brothers and sisters know that we are standing with them. Y'all come out and let us make our voices heard. We will work tirelessly together to ensure that this wicked PPPC government is toppled. They cannot continue how they're continuing.
So, Nima, we saw here again, and I know you are going to, this is a memory that will live with you for a lifetime, where when we talk about Maka, you're still having sleepless nights. Many children are still screaming. Many parents are still there trying to grapple with the fact that they have lost everything they worked for during all those years. Some of them said they were there from year one. Like they would say, I born and grow there at Caneview on Mocha. And so when we look at what has been happening, the trend of what is happening, how can one feel about this regime that seeks to always destroy? And so the operator is putting it on screen there. This is the regime that talks about one Guyana. You know, I remember the day I stood out there and I saw the operator of this machine breaking this house down, breaking other homes down. And if that was not enough, when he broke the home down, he walked on almost every single one of the cases with beverages in there and ensured that they were all crushed. And what he couldn't crush, he dug a hole and he dragged them into a hole. Nima, if you can quickly tell us, I don't want us to go right back into that, but we have to look at what is happening there, then, now, and again. If you can quickly tell us what is happening with the folks there in Moko and how are
Well,
they
I can say
now, since they have seen the same thing is going to be happening to folks in Pleasance.
I can tell you that the folks here, they're still living with relatives. They're not on their own. They're still going one day at a time. I posted a video to show how Mark and his pigs, they're progressing, thanks to persons who donate, thanks to people who continue to engage these people, talk with them. That is critical, because psychologically, to relive, to go through these things day after day, it is a memory that is always there. Some of them still can't really speak of it because they always come to tears. But I see it, as much as it has broken me to a place that I will ensure with all of my being that I see the PPPC government topple. They must come out of office. They're not a people-oriented government. You check to see every action that they have taken is to leave people in poverty, is to leave people in distress, to take away people's economic wealth. Why is it that we must sit and continue to allow this government to do what they're doing? And I'm quite sure, like myself and you and many other Guyanese, we have to get these people out. They're no good for Guyana, no good for our country, because Guyanese are continue to suffer day after day. Only yesterday they were in Ideal on the highway breaking another house. And the persons have been living there over 15 years. The people have the documents for the place. Some, however, they cook up this concoction again. They turn up with somebody else as the owner for the land. Destroy the people home, break down a very beautiful home yesterday, get the people out. And this is what they continue to do. Just like Hillfoot. Hillfoot was deja vu for me. But you know what's sad about Hillfoot? The people still don't have nowhere to go. So they're still on the land, on the sheets, on the zinc. They don't have families to collect them. And these people get up and go home in their homes. And you know, at Hillfoot, there are children who still could not return to school because all the books was wet, all the uniform destroyed, and they're just living under these little clots set up and trying to survive day after day. How can people be supporting a government that sees the destruction of people as something good? They're going to be seen as something good because it is something that they keep doing repeatedly. But I am calling on Guyanese tonight. We have to stand together to get rid of this PPPC government. They're too wicked for Guyana. No good for Guyana.
And so the images you are seeing there, viewers, are some images of what transpired at Hillfoot, where homes were broken down. And you know what is most disgusting is the fact that we hear about this one Guyana. this one Guyana. And if we look across at what has been happening then, now, and again, it is saying to us that it's
One
not
set of
only
people.
one set of people the PPP are targeting, they're targeting the poor and helpless people, Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, Amerindians, everybody they're targeting. As long as you cannot do stuff for them, they're targeting you. And so if you see what is happening there, homes have broken down, beds have been destroyed, mattresses have been destroyed, furnishing have been destroyed, every single thing. And these are poor people who are trying to make an honest dollar. And when you got down to the whole issue of this Hillfoot story, the young man who got a court order,
He's a
he was even
squatter.
thrown out of the house that he's living in somewhere on the East Coast there because,
Coretta is a squatter.
oh my gosh,
He's living on squatted land currently.
I tell you, I don't know how much more of this our people are willing to accept. I don't know how much more of this people are going to endure. But I can tell you that there is something bubbling somewhere. And we're going to have a blow up in this country if the PPP doesn't stop what they're doing. If the PPP doesn't stop terrorizing and aggravating people, then we're going to have a blow up in this country. I mean, where is the Minister of Human Services? Where is she? What has happened to all of those conventions that we have signed on to? Look at the conditions under which people are living. Young boys, young girls, infants have to endure those kinds of conditions. But you know what? There's a saying that says, long time done, short time left. And I'm hoping that you, our viewers, you're going to be able to spread the message and that we will keep this on, that we will never have, well, I can't say never have any more Shaka Blairs because we've seen many more of them. Just yesterday, we saw the police shooting a young man in Bachelor's Adventure. And it lingers the question, why are we shooting to kill? Why every time there is a police patrol, some young man always acting suspicious, and then the young man always pulling a gun at the police and firing shots at the police, and all these shots bypassing the police vehicle, bypassing the police. No police don't get injured, but whoever is the young man or the young men, they're always fatally wounded. Is it that our police don't have the kind of training that teaches them to maim and apprehend so that you can get information? Why we always kill the messenger? Why is it? It's the same thing we couldn't understand when they claimed to have shot and killed Smalley. Why did you have to kill him? Why didn't you want to bring Smalley in to find out from him what was the arrangement? How were you allowed to walk so freely? Who were the persons involved? Why is it that we never want to bring these corrupt people to justice? We always want to shoot and kill the messenger. Why is it that we always want to trample on the rights of people and instill fear into them so that they can't speak out? Why? This is the country where Priya Manik Chand and Bharat Jagdeo and the whole host of them talk about this country is a democratic country and the people have exercised their democratic rights. So why is it now that you are afraid to have people speak for their rights? Mm-hmm. Why is it now that you are always bulldozing people's homes, bulldozing their livelihood, bulldozing their integrity, their morals, and everything about them? Why is it? Nima, I don't know if you want to share with us how our young people feel, because I know that you're a school teacher too. And how is it that our boys in school and our girls at school, how are they taking this whole issue of this rape by Nigel Dharamlal?
It has not been taken lightly. When you speak to them, they ask the question, how is it that they're taking so long to deal with this case? Wow. This young woman wrote a whole long statement detailing everything. And like I've been saying on all the social media posts, this young lady didn't go to bed and wake up from a dream and said, Darmlal raped me. It didn't happen that way. She have a detailed account. And then you hearing them saying all manners of things. What are you saying to our young people? Are you telling them that rape and abuse of someone is okay? Is acceptable in society, that you're taking such a long time to deal with this? And when we look at the outer society in other countries, when elected officials are caught up in scandals, you see them deal with it in a different manner. That elected official don't feel that that person feel that they got all the rights. The government take the necessary steps to have them placed in a corner until the investigation is completed. You are recognizing, Guyana, the minister had to write an act to leave instead of the government taking the steps necessary to have this minister taken off the job, removed from public, and do what they have to do. He's so brave. Imagine Father's Day making posts.
You know,
And there's
we
a disrespect we got for our people. And you know,
we
our young people are watching. They are watching.
mhm. And you know, I want to say to us that we seem to come across to the people in the outer world as a jokey set of people. And I want to say to our friends who are watching us here from the diaspora, when these guys and these girls come to North America, you people must boycott their activity. You must protest them when they come. You must inform your congressmen and your congresswomen of what is happening. And I'm hoping that the US Embassy, that they are going to revoke the visa of Nigel Dharamlal again. I'm hoping that they are going to do that, or they might have already done that. And if you've not done that, I hope you're putting steps in place to have that done. Nigel Dharamlal is a disgrace to this country. And all the other persons who were trying to pervert the course of justice, like the senior official, the superintendent of police, his visa should be revoked immediately. All the others who tried to call the young lady and so on to tell her all kinds of nonsense, their visas too should be revoked. And I'm hoping that the police are watching and that a certain course of action is going to be taken against them. And we saw some of our folks in the US and New York were protesting just the other day. But I want you to come out and protest in your numbers when they come to your country. I noticed the vice president and the president, they're going to Canada. You must boycott them when they go there and protest against them. We're tired of this kind of nonsense. We cannot continue to have our girls and boys living in fear. We cannot continue to have that. And so as a country and as a people, we have got to step our game up. And so I want to call on every mother, every father, every boy, every girl, every brother, our Amerindian folks, our East Indian folks, our Afro-Guyanese folks, our Chinese folks, our Portuguese folks, and even those ambassadors who are here. I want to call on you to come out and speak out against these atrocities. You know, I saw Ralph Ramkaran, a staunch PPP member, speaking out against this issue, and he wants to know, why is it that Dharamlal has not yet been sacked? I've seen other prominent PPP members who Jagdeo would have pushed aside. I've seen them speaking out on these issues, and that's the reason why Jagdeo would have pushed those folks aside, because they will not stand and allow him to do nonsense. And like I said last week, I am sure wherever Dr. Jagan is at this time, he is rolling and turning and going, behaving bad, like the boys would say, wherever he is at this time. Because this is not the PPP government. This is not the PPP. This is not the ideologies of the PPP that he formed many, many, many years ago. But you know what? These guys have no shame and they have no decency. I know that our time has come down on us, and we want to thank you, our visitors, for having been, our viewers rather, for having been here with us. Nima, I want to thank you for always being there at any time we can call, and all the time you see Nima there doing what she has got to do. And I'm hoping that we can all join hands in this fight against Dharamlal and all the others. And I know we have our brothers there, Rickford Burke, and we have, of course, the two Burke's brothers, and we have Bonita there, and so many others who are speaking out against these things, and Norman Brown, and all the others who are speaking out against these things. And we want to say to you, let's continue this call, because Nigel Dharamlal must go. Nigel Dharamlal must face the consequences of his actions. And the DPP, we're asking you to do the honorable thing. Stop sending back and forth. Do the honorable thing. The information is right out there. So, folks, thank you for being here with us for another episode of Advancing the Cause. We'll see you again next week at this same time to bring you more information on what has been happening. Until then, we want to say God bless you and do have a safe week. I know tomorrow we are going to be observing a holiday. To our Muslim brothers and sisters, we want to extend to you happy Eid. And we trust that the significance of Eid will sprinkle all across this country and cause President Irfan Ali, who is a Muslim, cause something to hit on his conscience so that he would do the right thing by firing Nigel Dharamlal. We don't need rapists. We don't need pedophiles. We want strong men and women to lead this country. Do take care, and I'll see you again next week for more on Advancing the Cause. Have a good night.
I'm such a fool.